Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Farage, thanks for being here, coming across the pond. I'm sorry to hear you're leaving the hearing early.
Well, it's not a question of leaving the hearing early, but I do have other things to do. Yes.
Oh, where are you going?
I'm so sorry about that.
It's okay. Where are you going?
It's not lunch, I promise you.
It's not lunch. You're not going to have lunch.
I don't think so, no.
No lunch.
Sad, isn't it?
You're meeting with the president?
I can't remember what the schedule is. It's possible.
You can't remember if you're meeting with the president.
I'm being very polite, and I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing this afternoon, but I can assure you that...
But there's the free speech hearing. You're not going to tell me what you're doing this afternoon?
Oh, free speech is one thing. Discretion's quite another, too.
Okay. All right, so you're leaving to have lunch with the president. So, Mr. Farage, I have a question. Have you heard about the Epstein thing that's going on here?
I have.
You have? What do you think about it?
I'm not going to give comment on anything happening in America. I'm here as a witness.
Perfect.
I'm here as a witness. I'm here as a witness for what is happening in the United Kingdom and in the European
Perfect. Let me just go through it. So it's been 9 months, right, since we've been meeting in these hearings. We've not had Pam Bondi here, even though we have jurisdiction over the Department of Justice, not Dan Bungie.
The gentleman yield?
Not Cash Patel. I will 100%. We'll go back and forth. Let me just do my thing.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to correct. Cash Patel's coming in 2 weeks. I'll give you an extra 10 seconds. Cash Patel, Director of FBI, is coming in 2 weeks, and the Attorney General's coming in 4 weeks.
Fantastic. But still, we're not doing that this week, the week we're having votes on the Epstein thing. So, Pam Bondi gives the influencers, these Republican influencers, a binder. It says Part 1 of the Epstein files. No one of you saw it. It was quite spectacular. The Attorney General then says the Epstein list is on her desk. Then DOJ issues a memo, says there is no list. Then, do you have any questions about any of that? We've had no hearings on any of that at all. That, the list is on my desk, then there is no list. Then we gave binders to Republican influencers. This committee's had no questions on any of how that transpired at the Department of Justice. Then hold on.
Well, it sounds like you're going to in the next few weeks. So that's a jolly good thing.
Mr. Farage, we can talk soon, but not yet. Okay. Right. So then the president comes out and says the whole thing's a hoax. He blasts his own base. He blames Barack Obama. I mean, he hasn't been president for a very long time. Republicans then in committee vote against the release in the Rules Committee. Then Republicans refuse to go back in the Rules Committee because they're getting blasted for their vote, getting crushed by their own base. Congress leaves a day early. Then the administration sends the Deputy Attorney General to meet with Maxwell in jail. He happens to be Trump's former personal attorney. She says something favorable about the president. Miraculously, she gets transferred to a minimum security prison. The president starts talking about how he has the right to pardon her if he wanted to. The leaks to the Wall Street Journal then stop. We come back from break. We have the Massey petition. Comer does a document dump where 97% of these documents are already public. How long has he had those documents? Why hasn't he released them for the last 6 weeks? Does it the day of the vote. Then Republicans drop a non-binding resolution trying to kill the Massey discharge petition. The White House said passing the Massey discharge petition is a hostile act. Wow. That's a lot of distraction and deflection and misinformation. Wait, passing a discharge petition to release the Epstein files, the White House said would be a hostile act. Nope, we have no questions about that. But why? Why is it that we're spending so much political capital to keep this list from coming out? You think the list should come out? You think we should know the people who dealt with Mr. Epstein, Mr. Farage?
I thought I was coming to a hearing on free speech, not process.
Oh, but listen, but here's the good...
It sounds like you're discussing process.
No. Do you think the list should come out?
I have no opinion on it. I don't know at all.
So we have victims that were sexually abused by potentially people in power, and we don't know who's on the list.
I'm very happy.
Hold on, Mr. Farage. We don't know who's on the list. We don't know who's on the list. We don't know if the president is or is not. I'm not going to say he is or isn't. I'm just going to say these are weird behaviors. We don't know that there aren't other people in Congress that are on the list, right? We have no idea. Do you think the list should come out? You think people in power should be held to account for these victims who have been sexually abused and assaulted? You think the list should come out?
I think that I'm very happy to come to a different hearing where you talk about legal process.
Okay.
Will the gentleman yield for a quick question? Were you aware that he has already called for the Epstein file to be released? It has been reported that he has called for it to be released.
Oh yeah, right here, just to refresh your memory.
Yeah, but
I happen to have this.
But that's not
random.
But that is not. Look, you can ask me if you like about
Do you agree
social
with
security
yourself?
policy.
Do you agree with yourself?
We are here to discuss free speech.
Hold on. It's awkward for your lunch after this? Do you agree with yourself?
No, it isn't at all.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'm just curious. This committee has jurisdiction over the
Gentleman's
Department of
time.
Justice.
Yeah.
Why have we allowed Comer to cover this up for the last couple of months?
As I said,
why is this committee not
I
taking
said 6 weeks ago that we will have the FBI director in, we will have the Attorney General in, and we are doing that in 2 weeks. You can you can go through that whole list. That whole list, you can do whatever you want to do with, I got lots of questions for the FBI director, including the whistleblower who came forward and told him that Adam Schiff leaked classified information. I want to ask him about that as well as the issues you all want to ask him about. That's why he's coming, so we can ask all these questions and follow the process.
Pam Bondi, the DOJ, binders of documents sent to partisan influencers, a list that appears and then vanishes, a deputy attorney general visiting a jailed defendant, and a sudden prison transfer, the White House calling release of files a hostile act, and a document dump where 97% of the material was already public. That's not a series of coincidences. It's a pattern of muddled signals and procedural dodges that deserve a clear, sober read. First, why the timeline matters. Oversight is a chain of custody problem. If the Attorney General says the list is on my desk, then later the DOJ says there is no list, Congress and the public have legitimate questions about who controls the records, who has access, and whether documents are being curated for political theater. When binders are handed to partisan influencers, instead of being put before the committee or responsibly released with victim redactions, it looks less like transparency and more like message management. That fuels the core problem. Victims and the public are left wondering whether the goal is truth or damage control. Second, understand the legitimate limits. There are real reasons DOJ or courts can lawfully restrict document release, protecting ongoing investigations, preserving grand jury secrecy, safeguarding victims' identities, and national security considerations. Those are not trivial. But law and practice provide ways to reconcile those protections with transparency. For example, secure classified briefings to the appropriate congressional committees, independent special counsel reviews, or carefully redacted public disclosures that scrub victim identifiers while releasing names of enablers and financial records. The failure we see here is not the existence of lawful constraints. It's the inconsistent, opaque way those constraints are invoked and the absence of clear, accountable oversight that explains the choices. Third, consider the human cost. This string of procedural maneuvers isn't an abstract fight between lawyers. Survivors asked to cooperate with investigators were promised accountability. Many delayed speaking for years, trusting that the system would act. Each delay, each claim that there's no list, and each public dismissal, calling the matter a hoax, re-traumatizes survivors and erodes faith that justice will ever be served. If the stated objective is protection of privacy, that must be prioritized. If it's obstruction or cover-up, the public deserves full exposure and remedy. Those are very different outcomes, and the public needs evidence to judge which is happening. Fourth, what real oversight looks like. Committees should insist on 3 practical things. 1, a secure, privileged briefing for members and cleared staff where sensitive documents with survivor protections can be examined. 2, a clear inventory and chain of custody log showing who had access to which documents and when. And 3, a plan for independent review, an inspector general or a special counsel, to assess whether prosecutorial or administrative decisions were lawful and free of political interference. Public release should follow that process, using redactions where appropriate, not partisan leaks or selective dumps timed to influence votes. Fifth, what the public can do. Pressure matters. Congressional foot-dragging rarely changes absent sustained public attention. Constituents should call their representatives and ask 3 specific things. Demand a secure committee briefing. Demand a public explanation for any transfers of custody, who met with Maxwell, why she was transferred, and on whose authority. And demand an independent review into the process that produced the binders and the contradictory public statements. Support for survivor advocacy groups and journalism that digs into flight logs, bank records, and court filings will also force better accountability. Finally, don't fall for the false choice between secrecy and chaos. Responsible transparency exists. releasing files thoughtfully, protecting victims, and enabling new prosecutions or civil actions where evidence supports them. The alternative, indefinite secrecy or political theater, helps no one except the people who fear exposure. Moskowitz's blunt line of questioning pushed the conversation where it needs to go, away from rhetorical evasion and toward concrete answers about custody, motive, and process. If you want change, take 3 steps right now. Share this video so the issue stays in the public eye. Call your member of Congress and ask for the secure briefing and an independent review. And support survivor-centered organizations working for transparency and justice. The story shouldn't end with partisan binders and conflicting press releases. It should end with a clear public accounting.